just wanted to make a short little video here, kind of discussing something that kind of crosses my mind when it comes to video games in general, but mainly Bethesda RPGs and also, again, other games. But when it comes down to it, this thought process, or the thought popped up into my mind after hearing about Starfield and its 1,000 planets with handcrafted cities and so on and so forth. But 1,000 planets is a lot of planets to handcraft. So what popped into my mind is potentially that, oh, they probably did some procedural generation or random generation, whatever you want to call it, of maps and planets. Now, the real question that has come into mind is, what content, and when it comes to world building, do people like the most? Do they like the random generation, where it's just an algorithm that kind of throws together planets or places, kind of similar to, Minecraft or No Man's Sky, with the randomness and always, coming back in and it being different? Now, I know with Starfield, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily that, where it's different every time you play, for the most part, at least, I can assume. Or, handcrafted worlds like Oblivion, with the handcrafted, just everything. Each tree placed, specifically, and all that. So I was just kind of curious to wanted to kind of do a topic. I didn't really feel like doing a poll, but like, actually kind of speaking my thoughts on the topic. But what do people think? What do people like more, or what do you guys like more when it comes to RPGs and video games? Do you want handcrafted areas, or like handcrafted areas with procedural generation kind of mixed in? Or would you rather have just a whole handcrafted world? Or would you rather have just a fully randomly generated world? Again, when it comes to RPGs, or certain RPGs, like I would assume Starfield, it's not going to be randomly generated all the time. It's once and done, and then they focus in certain parts to make it handcrafted. Now, the thing with that is, obviously, you have... Oh, I'm trying to find something here. You have it where it's like some of the area has care, and then you're going to be finding places that aren't. And then, to me, that's just one of those things that kind of throws me out of being immersed into a game, where I'm given these, these amazing worlds and cities that are handcrafted and very detailed, and then all of a sudden I'm thrown into, kind of like what No Man's Sky was when it first released. And that was, to say the least, a little disappointing. And I think they've done wonders now, but even then, it was one of those where on launch, it wasn't good. And I think even they knew that it wasn't good, but it definitely needed more time to cook, and then now you have the game it has now. But there's always that pressure from gamers, like the players, to get the game out, because they want to play the game. And then you have games that are rushed, and now people are upset because, players and, the companies running these development companies are, funding them. They're like, hey, you got to get this game out now. We don't have time to wait. And it's more about money, in a sense, now, with a lot of it. But it just comes down to, for this conversation specifically, which do you like more? Which do you find better? And this goes for, do you like games like Minecraft, where you get in and it generates a whole world as you play, giving you just an infinite loop of adventure, essentially, that's never the same as the one before? Or would you rather have something where every time you jump in, you know the world you're jumping into, but there's so much within the world that gives you... It just gives you that ability to adventure off and do your own thing still. Yeah, sure, why not? For me, I feel like it's definitely, I would rather have a fully handcrafted world that was each rock, blade of grass even, you know, just down to the finest details was placed specifically there for a reason. You know, bandit camps, and castles, and it's just storytelling that you can get from a handcrafted world compared to randomly generated or procedurally generated worlds and areas. For me, it's just doesn't feel the same. I understand a mix and having a mix of them. You know, I feel like that's good. I still think handcrafted would be better, and I'm more than fine with waiting for games to they would take the time they need to essentially get to the handcrafted point of the years it takes. But I feel like in the end, the payoff is greater than anything we would ever see from a random generation. Even then, while Minecraft's, you know, it's wonderful. It's not Oblivion. It's not, you know, I think Skyrim had a handcrafted world as well. But handcrafted maps and worlds to me are definitely where I would lean. I'd rather them take an extra year or two to handcraft a map compared to, oh, we can get this done in a year, but it's randomly generated, or, you know, something along those lines. This whole ramble doesn't really have structure, but I guess I just kind of wanted to talk out loud with it and think about it as I talk, and also hear your thoughts, because I think it's good to have discussions with stuff like this. I think Starfield's going to be great, and I think a lot of people dislike Bethesda just because, one, it's easy to hate, and two, their games are buggy. You know, there's some things, I'm not saying the company's perfect, but I think a lot of people hate it just because, instead of an actual like reason within. And that's not everybody. You may have a reason you fucking hate Bethesda. Cool, go for it. I don't. That's all you. I don't. I think each one of those worlds that they have. Oh, hey, buddy. Is wonderful, and I've always enjoyed each one on its own. And, let's not die here. I've always enjoyed each one. I don't think I've ever had an issue with any of them. And I think the main reason that I do. Let me kill this guy real quick. Hey, buddy.
This is the part where you fall down.
Bad at swinging swords. There we go. Oh, sick. Dog needs to settle down. Ooh, sorry. But yeah, I like Bethesda games. I like the worlds. I don't necessarily join to play the gameplay of like, the game. It's never the greatest, but their worlds are something you don't see often anymore in a game. Of just a world to explore. Sit down, jump in, and explore. And meet new characters and all this craziness. And I think it's been that way. I don't think they've ever made a game where it's like, oh, the gameplay is, like the combat, I should say, is perfect. You know, with their, people were saying Starfield, oh, Starfield looks, like the combat looks bland and blah, 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 and unimpactful. I'm like, it, to me, looked kind of similar to, I would say, Rage and Fallout even. I would say the first Rage, maybe not the second. The second Rage was rather decent. But to me, it's not about that. It's not about the combat. While the combat is good to have, and I think a well-rounded game should have good, fun gameplay mechanics and good combat mechanics if there is combat, and, you know, and all of that. I think that's important. But I think when it comes to Bethesda, I know that their world is going to be really good. So I'm excited to see, but it does scare me a little bit with their, again, their 1,000 planets. That guy just got shot by an arrow. It does scare me. It might not be what I'm expecting from a Bethesda game where I jump in and know that I'm going to find characters I love, some characters I hate, memorable characters. I mean, I don't think there's a person out there who hasn't played Oblivion who doesn't know about the Adoring Fan. You know, there's always a character that just kind of pops out. And it's a lot of characters. Like, you even have Maik the Liar, a character that's in, I think, all the Elder Scrolls games. Those memorable characters are worth, to me, more than a semi-boring combat. But yeah, I don't really know where I'm fully going with all this, as it's not very structured and it's just me kind of talking. Maybe I had some good points, maybe I didn't. I'll let you decide whether you think that they were good or not. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, morning, weekend, Monday that's coming up here soon, whatever it may be. I hope you have a wonderful whatever it is. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, might as well go ahead and give a like or subscribe, see more content. But please, at least give me a comment on what you think. I'm interested to hear everyone's opinions and views. That's it. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.